Are front-end engineers still just front-end engineers? In recent years, I've noticed that the front-end engineering role keeps expanding. Now in 2025, there are several things that are involved in front-end. You're not just doing things like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but you're using libraries, you know how to deploy a website, and you even know how to use Firebase for some database things. Back in 2015, if you ask a front-end dev about the database, he would be like, that is the back-end stuff. But right now, even database is a front-end stuff as well. Let's talk about what front-end really looks like in 2025. Back in 2015, you just have things like HTML, CSS, and jQuery. And you mostly just be building a static web page that was handed over to you by the designer. You just build that and get it to work. And note, deployment wasn't your issue at all because you didn't have to deploy anything. Database wasn't your concern. Your work was just to take that design and implement it with code. Life was so easy. Front end now is everything. We now use Firebase, Supabase, Vercel, and even some part of AWS, right? Because as a front-end developer, you're handling things like real-time database analytics, real-time user analytics, deployments, routing flow in your application. You know, using things like Next.js, you're even building server-side code. You're handling things like authentication, using Firebase, maybe Firebase OAuth tool as well to do authentication. It is just a lot of things, and it is really not classified under the normal front end as we knew front end before. I've been building apps for 6+ years now, and in my experience, the role of front end for me has changed. For example, when I built Spill Metrics out, I had to do everything from the deployment to the database management to authentication with Firebase and OAuth to every other thing you can think of, nexting, routing in the application, because you just can't afford to be limited to one place anymore. The jobs expect these things from you. So I guess you need to learn them. As a front-end developer, you're really touching the cloud things now. Yeah, you can't escape it. You're writing serverless functions to function on maybe Firebase, maybe on AWS, you know, with Lambda functions and all of that. You're doing all this even as a front-end developer. Think of it as DevOps light. You know, you're not so engrossed in DevOps that you're a full-time DevOps engineer. No, but you need to know how specific things, even around DevOps, work to enable you do your front end more effectively. Yes, there are still cases where you need an advanced DevOps engineer to come in, but think of the simpler use cases, the things you need to do by yourself, especially when working for a startup or you are just building a personal project. You need to know this thing. We already talked about database and APIs, but yes, front-end engineering is not equal to database free. You need to structure collections, write database rules, write queries, and deal with some security things. Let's talk about UX, animation, and real experiences. You are not just a coder anymore. You craft experiences. As a front-end developer right now in 2025, you are heavily invested in doing things that involve animations. It means you need to use libraries like GSAP, Framer Motion, and all the other collection of tools you would need to craft up a beautiful looking site. Remember, you don't just want it to be beautiful, but you want something that tells a story, something that makes the user stay. You are crafting an experience on the front end right now. Design tools are so updated right now that the things designers cook is a lot. And if you're just building static web pages, you cannot compete in the current market. You have to care about animation, accessibility, and performance. Think about it. User experience is part of your daily life, even if you're not a UX designer. So even in front end and the way the application is being used, you need to interpret the design and the tools in such a way that the user would use it and have an experience and a feel that this product is the right one for them. It means that there should be no lagging, they should feel secure in using it, and diverse type of people with different situations and conditions can also benefit from using that application. So finally, this begs the question, what should I be learning now? Cloud platforms, the likes of AWS, you need to learn how to deploy your own stuff. And apart from just deploying it, how to set up basic rules, cores, and all those stuff that would block you most of the time when working on your code. It is not optional to know how to use at least one cloud platform for deploying right now. It's super important you learn it. And the most popular tool for front-end engineers are Vercel and Netlify. Database basics. You can't escape it. You need to write queries. For you to write those queries, you need to understand what you are querying. It could be NoSQL database or relational databases. Any of these one, collections or tables, you need to learn how to use it. I'm privileged enough to know how to use the two of them because at some point I was doing more backend than front end and started doing more front end for most part of my career. But I still know how to write full stack. So right now I know how to use mostly non-relational databases, but when I need to, I still use PostgreSQL, and that is, a SQL database. So you need to have fundamental knowledge in using database. You might not end up being advanced like a full-blown backend engineer, but knowing how to use it, even when you are not actively using it in a particular code, would help you understand the spectrum of how the backend engineer is thinking about approaching that problem, and then it would influence the way you fetch the data and represent it in your own code base. Performance optimization techniques, from lazy loading to cleanups and every other thing you need to know about performance optimization. It is best that you spend some time with this because users really want to use a platform that gives them that experience of speed and allow them get access to the information they want without having to stress too much. Trust me, you don't want to stress users right now. UI and UX principle. Yes, you're still probably working with a designer who is going to make the designs and pass it on to you, but sometimes you are not. And even when you are, you need to understand the basic UX principles and UI principles to enable you write better and more readable code. You can't keep throwing random pixels everywhere just in hopes that it looks like the one the designer makes. No, you need to understand the basic knowledge of how the designer composes their design with their specifications, so you know how to write that exact specifications into your code and make it work for your app. That way you're writing cleaner code and you are able to think from the perspective of the designer. But also say pick one to go deeper into. It could be animations, it could be systems, it could be DevOps. Make sure you have an expert level knowledge in one of these areas. Right now, nobody wants just a basic front-end engineer anymore. You need to know how to do something on a deeper level, because while it helps you think, it's also a creative way to showcase your skill that people can easily see. When you see a catchy animation on your screen, you don't need anyone to explain to you that the person who did this is freaking good. Hold up, if you got to this part of the video, please like, share and subscribe to this video. I'm Daniel Don. I've been a software engineer for over half a decade, 6+ years right now, and I'm going to be sharing a lot of experience takes on software engineering. I want to add this because of everything going on right now, including with AI. Front end isn't shrinking. In fact, it is expanding. And no, it's not scary, it is exciting. We are not just coders anymore, we are experienced builders. We have all these tools at our disposal to come up with unique experiences. The AI tools, every other thing you can think of. What you want to do is to know how to adopt them into your own system, where you get to do most of the experience thinking from the knowledge you have gathered over the years. Even with the AI, not everyone knows how to prompt it to do what you want, but you as the solid engineer know the right things to tell the AI to do to enable it to work for your use case. It just got interesting and sweeter. Let's go write some code. Happy coding. Please click on the subscribe button.